We have a congressional election in November of 2010. Now follow the money, all right? You know what Americans will do because we're spirited, and I don't care if this is not a political discussion, this is a theory discussion. You know what we will do. If they do not get this place stabilized, if credit hasn't worked a little bit better, we're going to take all the idiots that are in there now and vote them out of office, and then you'll put in all the next round of idiots. So you know that. That's what will happen, all right? So it doesn't matter. It's just recycling. It's like real estate. We all keep recycling. You run into people in one company, then another. I keep running into people I've known for 20 years. We're all still here. We're just recycling each other. That's what we do with politicians. They don't get old and unemployed. They just recycle. You know that. Okay. So fine. So we know that will happen. So they have to get it to stability. Now see, let's go back to all these bubbles. Everything we're trying to do is to say, we don't want these bubbles anymore. We want things to be much more mellow and run across economies and around the world where basically there's not so many highs and lows. Because, you see, recessions, which we used to have every 4 years, would take the warts off of capitalism and calm them down. We don't have recessions every 4 years anymore. We have them about every 8 years, and what happens is the bubbles now burst. So when you look at what all countries are trying to do is, they want to put an umbrella that's called basically the United States government and their governments, kind of with a veneer of transparency and letting more people know and a little bit more control and a little bit more regulation, so that we can basically see things move a little bit more slowly, all right? Now, you don't think they're going to allow real estate not to fall under that umbrella because it's a huge part of the economy. So now let's go back. The foreclosure market. Isn't it interesting that we now have 1.5 million houses in foreclosure, and you know what? There's 2 million more coming because it's now hit alt and prime, and we know that basically when you look at the numbers, that basically, so where are those 2 million? How come when you heard that you were listening to the inventory numbers, there's no inventory in foreclosures and short sale markets? There's about 1 month or two. So where are all these 2 million houses that they have? Well, they're all sitting, waiting in banks. That's where they are. So either they're just holding them, they're still allowing people to live in houses that haven't paid their mortgages for 6, 7, 8, 10 months because they'd rather keep them there than basically throw them out and they're vacant. Oh, and they're inundated with them. So why are they doing that? Well, because they want to control that market, and they do have control of it. It's not that they want it, they have it. Because think about it. Number one, they're controlling the inventory. You know there's more than 1 month worth of inventory sitting in foreclosure markets like Hayward and Oakland. Oh, please, come on. They're holding that. Number two is they want to keep it very low because they're getting multiple offers in those markets, and they want that first big leap up. They want those multiple offers. Then what they're doing is, on the second leg, after you buy it and I buy it, if a buyer comes in and they need a loan, you know what they're saying? You need to wait 3 or 6 months before we're going to give you a loan on that same property because we want to stop the spinning. So think about it. They are in total control of that foreclosure market. They're controlling the inventory, and yeah, there's 2 million more coming. And everybody says, where was the glut we were supposed to have in the summer? It never came. There'll be more on the market towards the end of the year, beginning next year, but it's not going to be a glut again because they're going to do it very selectively. They're going to do it very programmed and very carefully because they're controlling that market. The other thing that's happening, and this amazed me, I was over in the East Bay, which you basically get a lot more foreclosure information over there. You don't have a whole lot over here. And they're telling me they drive the drive-bys, these REO agents call up the banks, and they give them a valuation. And the banks say, no, that's too high. Make it lower. This is the price that we want. Because they want that multiple offer, first leg, up on the run. We want 25, 30 offers. We're going to get it, but the next buyer isn't, because now we start to control the timing between the first sale and the second. So they want to control that market. We're going to get to why. Follow the money. Now, the middle tier of the market is beginning to heat up. I think that's one of the greatest opportunities for you next year. You have that middle tier market, anything from 4 to 8, 900,000, maybe a million, that's beginning to take off. Prices have come down enough. People love that. Good school districts, community, nice lifestyle. So they will work there and control that market by who gets the loans and who doesn't. Now let's go to the high end. High end, very interesting. High end stress, you know that. You have good qualified buyers, those that are left, but there's only 15% of those buyers in this market this year. They used to be 35, 40% of the market, but this market now is first-time buyers and investors. We know that. So we've lost some of the pool temporarily for the high end, and here's what's happening in the high end and why they're going to control that. I will guarantee you when you look at the high end, inventory is growing in the high end. Inventory is growing. Basically, sales are down. They can be down anywhere from 5 to 20%. There was an article in the Wall Street Journal that was absolutely terrible about a week and a half ago. Talked about the high end. Let me give you some statistics. It was 4.4% of the market last year. This year it was 2.9% of the market. Still small, but basically cut in half. They basically said that this is what this J.P. Morgan Chase projected, that the high-end market in some locations would go down as much as 60%. It depends what locations, and that there wouldn't be a turnaround in the high end until 2013. That was on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. Now, that is unbelievable. All right. So we can say the high end is basically stressed. We can also say that basically here's what's going to happen to the high end. You're going to start to see foreclosures and short sales in that market, which means now the banks are coming in and they'll start to have control of the high end of the market. And you're going to have to sellers, because most of the time in the high end, sellers, when they don't like the market, they don't like the valuations, they wait out the market. They'll just wait it out. But by the end of this year, you're going to know people that basically have to sell. And so the sellers in that market have lost a lot of their power. As we have more short sales, foreclosure, and have-to sellers, you're going to see the banks will have more control over that market. Now, let's go back now. What are we talking about all this? Why? Because here's what has to happen from their perspective. They got to get this market on stability. Once it's on stability, Case Schiller the other day, Mr. Case was on, and he said, where's appreciation going to go in the real estate market? And he started to talk about, and he's just written a new book, so you should get it, that basically talks about what's going to happen to real estate. And he said it's going to appreciate, yes, but it's going to appreciate much more slowly because of what they're doing to calm down this market and have better control of it. And he said where we used to have 5, 6, 7%, he said you're going to be looking at for probably the next 5, 6, 7 years out, 2 to 3% appreciation across the real estate market. Now, why do they need to do this? Well, we follow the money again. They need to do this because, number one, they've got to get it to stability. What they can't have happen is two things against increasing interest rates. And somebody asked me this morning what's going to happen to the real estate market if interest rates go up. Under normal, ordinary circumstances, values go down when interest rates go up because there's not a good relationship between the two. They can't have that happen. We can't get out of the worst correction we've had in the last 2 decades in real estate and then see the market double dip again. So they can't have that happen. So if they control the valuation of the market, they'll get it where they want and they'll adjust it up and down if they control the inventory and the loans. At the same time, they can't allow the high end to go into a deep double dip because that would be terrible, so they'll control that market. And then the foreclosure market, they can't have it appreciate and bubble again because then we're going back to that, oh boy, 20, 30% on one end of the market. This end is basically going off the cliff the other way, and we're going to be back in a mess with housing. So I think when you think about that, and you're thinking now about your business and how you want to do it, these are the pockets that obviously are going to be very busy. Foreclosures and short sales, the middle tier will be great. Let's talk now about how you work those markets. Somebody said to me, let's talk a minute about the foreclosure market. It's Carole, all cash, 10-day close as is. That's your competitor in the foreclosure short sale market. And it definitely is. So if you have a client that needs to come in and they can't be all cash, 10-day close, what are some of the things that you can do? Well, I think one of the things that you can do in that market is, if they are going to get a loan, make sure that they're willing to get the loan through the same person that holds the foreclosure, because if they can do that, that may be more applicable to the lender. Second thing is they have to make an adjustment. We have gotten buyers very traditionalized into thinking foreclosure means on sale. It means cheap. It means go in there and bid low. That's how you get it. When you go into a foreclosure market where you have 25 offers against you, it is no longer an on sale market. It is now a multiple offer market. So one of the things I think they need to do is make their offer as appealing as they can to the lender, who may then use it as a counteroffer against a cash offer. Now, why may that work out? Because cash buyers may be willing to put so much cash on the table, 10-day close as is, and if they don't like it and the bank doesn't take it, they may say, basically screw it, excuse me, and they'll walk away and they'll go to another foreclosure in another property on another area. So one of the things that they may do if they have a counter that isn't all cash but it's attractive, what does attractive mean? Well, I think you have to look at numbers, how many basically multiple offers there are. So I think in that $50,000 to $150,000 range, which you don't have here, but I see you're selling in the East Bay and they have a lot of those properties, maybe every